Welcome to my keynote speech at the MISTI conference in beautiful San Diego. Today's topic is going to be breach of security. What happens when the board finds out about a breach and asks audit and the security department? Let's start by defining what a breach is. A breach is defined as an incident involving the loss of or unauthorized disclosure of sensitive, classified, sometimes regulated information as a result of a compromise or breakdown in the organization's security and protection systems. Recently, there was a massive breach of security as Equifax lost control of 147 million records. Now back to our scenario. The board has learned of a breach and they're asking the information security people and audit, why didn't you detect this? To aid our analysis, I am using a classic root cause analysis approach. To further enhance our root cause analysis, I've created a fishbone diagram mapping all the integrated controls within our environment to the 6 primary assets used to deliver the services and products. Those assets include people, information, software, hardware, telecommunications, and facilities. The first question we have to answer is, was it a human error or technology error that led to this breach? As we know, there was a vulnerability that was not patched for whatever reason, so it looks like it could have been human error. The next question we have to answer is, was it due to weak governance? As we know in the video, the CEO claims to not have known anything about it, and that in fact he points the finger at a single employee, suggesting that that employee didn't make the right decision and didn't implement the patch that they were responsible to do. To help our analysis, I've included a RACI chart here of the Security Operations and Incident Response Team. It outlines the reactive, proactive, and security quality services along with the manager's responsibilities. I have a funny story to share with you about a time when I was on my way to a retirement party for a staff member. I got stuck in the elevator for 3 hours with the actuary department, and boy was it interesting calculating life expectancy. Back to our scenario. Do we live in a glass bubble? Has IT audit put themselves into a glass bubble by not communicating effectively with other groups such as IMIT? Or could it be the other way around? Maybe IMIT has excelled IT audit because of the lack of understanding of the value that IT audit can bring to most scenarios, including during a breach of security. Another reasonable question might be, are we a victim of our own culture? Does our organization support the interaction of IT audit during incident response situations? Vulnerability management is extremely important in this day and age with our digital environments. As you can see by the illustration of the technology stack in front of you, on both the left and the right side, I've included exploit code that is easily available over the internet, could be downloaded and executed by someone with basically no skill at all. There are over 39,000 published exploits available on the internet today for download, and 104,000 common vulnerabilities have been published in the CVE database. We also know from testing of honeypots that existing security architecture can only detect 49% of these threats. Back to our scenario. Was it a sophisticated attack? It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like it was a known vulnerability and it actually had a published patch that wasn't applied. There are millions of pieces of malware floating around on the internet in addition to the readily available exploit code that can be downloaded and executed. This malware falls into the following categories: backdoors, exploits, rootkits, trojans, worms, and other types of undetectable malware. You've probably heard people say the internet is going dark. In addition to the malware and the readily available exploit code for download, the internet search engines are now encrypting data. What does this mean? It means that threats can package their exploits and their malware into encrypted packets and send it past the firewall and the intrusion prevention systems directly into the network and exploit it. If organizations are going to be able to detect malware, and exploit code entering into the network, they need to carefully segregate sensitive areas of the network and locate taps on those entry points where they can interrogate the data packets as they enter the network. In the cloud environment, they need to not only monitor the north-south traffic, but also the east-west traffic. When organizations begin to plan the security architecture of their networks so that they can monitor for malware and other types of threats, they need to look carefully at the appliances they are selecting. Some of these appliances have very long lists of exclusions. These are types of software that they do not monitor today. Back to our scenario and the board's question, why didn't information security people and the auditors know that a breach had happened? Well, was it due to a lack of guidance? Are the security and audit teams getting their guidance from professionals who actually know what's going on? One of the goals of today's keynote speech was to discuss the 3 lines of defense and how we could better position the second and third lines. As you can see in the third line, internal audit seems to be brought in after the fact. The second line, including security, risk management, etc., seems to include a number of management practices, yet in the first line is where the operations is. Now normally, the monitoring for security threats and vulnerabilities would happen in the operations area. So if a breach occurred, it's the operations people that would know first, and they would have to involve IT audit and the security people. It is interesting to note that the description of the 3 lines of defense does not appear to include any connecting dots between the potential of a security incident or monitoring with either IT audit or the information security people. This leads me to believe that this framework is not truly designed to handle a breach. The following defense in-depth architecture was designed from ISO 27001, an internationally accepted management system for information security, very specific for this purpose. The layers include management system on the outermost layer, where decisions are made about the operations of information security. On the next layer, policy, organizational design, legal obligations, and asset management are key. Level 3, human resources. Level 4, incident management. Level 5, access control. Level 6, physical security. Level 7, systems acquisition and development. Level 8, communications and operations. Level 9, business continuity. Just in case everything else fails, we will need to recover from scratch. Back to our scenario. Was the breach due to a lack of knowledge? To be honest, maybe most of the players have never been through a breach before and didn't know how to respond or weren't prepared. As part of my root cause analysis, I looked at several popular frameworks that are out there today. I looked at the CIS controls, the General Data Protection Regulation, also the NIST Cybersecurity Framework, and the New York State Department of Financial Services and cybersecurity requirements. What I determined was that none of these standards include a management system or an audit process. What is included in a management system? Well, there's the legal registry, which includes statutes, regulations, and contractual obligations facing internally and externally. There's also a statement of applicability listing all of the controls used within the computing environment. And then there's an audit procedure that gets defined, also a risk assessment procedure, and then a continual improvement procedure, and a governance committee procedure. All of these feed into a process that leads to a decision about addressing risk. As we begin to wind down this keynote, I must say that all of the frameworks that we've looked at so far do not measure up to the ISO 27001. Its mandatory and discretionary controls can further be enhanced by adopting the PCI Card Protection Provision Standard with over 1,200 control points. Conclusion. Learning about a breach in a timely fashion requires practical governance and integration with IT audit, at the appropriate levels and processes within your organization. Today we reviewed some of the issues and challenges while we proposed several different solutions. We hope that you have found our keynote entertaining and useful. Thank you for your participation. Now, to conclude our keynote for today, and thank you for attending, we would like you to listen to the following video of Al Franken explaining to the Equifax CEO some of our deepest concerns. Thank you.